So, hello everybody, and welcome to Heart to Heart with Sandhya. I have a very special guest today. He is a dear friend, and let me just introduce you because we have him on video with us. This is Vinod George Joseph. Hi, Vinod.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you for joining us today on this rainy day in Mumbai. Vinod was my classmate. We went to National Law School together. He's a brilliant lawyer working with a corporate law firm. But he's here specially to talk about his hobbies, his passions. I'll let him label it, about writing and running. Vinod has three novels that are published. Vinod, why don't we start by sort of have you jump in, tell us a little bit about your novels.
Sure. So I've published three novels, and I love writing fiction. I got hooked on it sometime in around 18 years ago. So I'd gone to the UK and I was doing a master's course, and I told my wife, I just got married, and I said, I have this thing on my bucket list, and she said, if you keep waiting, it'll never happen. So I started writing, and it helped that at that time my wife had longer hours than I did. She was doing a PhD and she worked longer hours. So I was initially studying, and then I was working in London. So I did have some time, and I kind of got used to writing while commuting by public transport in the UK. And so I used to make time, and then I realized I enjoyed it. So I enjoyed it so much that when you enjoy something, you make time. It's not about uh, how do you find time. If you really like something, you will find time. And yeah, so it's a good de-stressor for me, because you come back from work, and I don't write about anything to do with law or the legal profession. I just write about something totally random, something totally different, totally cut off, because it's a different world I've created, and I really like it.
Absolutely. I want to know about the process, but why don't you tell all of us what your three novels, what they're called, and what they're about? Because that's so much fun. Coming from a corporate lawyer, and like you said, this completely different world that you've created.
Indeed. So the first one is called Hitchhiker. It was published by Books for Change, a Bangalore-based publishing house, and it's a story of a boy growing up in rural interior Tamil Nadu, and this boy happens to be a Dalit. So a lot of it revolves around Dalits, and he goes to a school run by missionaries. It's about a Dalit Christian and how he grows up in a missionary run environment, and his internal turmoil, and it also revolves around about reservations and all that. It's in that sense, it's not a feel good novel. It's all about the story revolves around how some people are entitled to reservations, some are not, and if you're not entitled to, what do you feel about it, and those who are entitled, do you have and how do you take it, or so it's all. I don't want to disclose more, so it's a very what do you say, meant to not reflect on human emotions, and the story of a man, of a young man growing up. So it starts from the time he's maybe 14 or 15, and then goes on till he's maybe in his mid 20s. The second one is a spy novel. Indian spy clashes with Al Qaeda in London, and of course, Indian spy wins. It's set in London. It was written when I was living in London. Both the first and the second novels were written when I was living in London. It's called When the Snow Melts. It is published by Amaryllis, a Delhi-based publishing firm. Uh, so it's a thriller. So I don't want to give away the plot. The third one is a crime novel. It's being published by a website called Delhi Defense Review. Again, it's a story of a bunch of terrorists, so-called Maoists, attacking Mumbai, and a brave IPS officer is on the trail. It's being serialized and published on the Delhi Defense Review. So again, I don't want to give away the plot, but you can imagine who will be successful. So three
Yes.
very different novels. Yes.
So I mean, in none of these is your story. So tell me about this world while you're writing. What's going on inside your head, Vinod?
So you're creating a different world, and you're living there as well. So you end up being a little bit absent-minded when you're thinking of that. So it's a world. So it's if you are creative, which I believe I am, and I'm sure there are many of you are, and they say there's a novel, at least one novel in everybody. So if you have that story in you, then you kind of go into a different world and then expand on it. And then of course you need the discipline to put it down on paper or into a computer, and do it methodically, because it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not a short story. I love writing short stories too, but the novel is a different approach altogether, a different discipline. So you need to be disciplined to be able to write a certain number of words, if not every day, every few days, so that after maybe a year or so, you have a novel at the end of it.
Yeah. Vinod, I want to actually make a distinction because for a lot of us, we we see hobbies as, having to also produce something at the end of it, right? How important is it for you to have that sort of published book, or to actually complete X number of pages, or keep a timeline, or maintain that discipline? What is it that you enjoy more, the actual writing or the end product?
So I think I enjoy the writing more, but I'd be disappointed if I couldn't finish it or get it published.
Mm-hmm.
So both are important, but frankly, the writing process is much more enjoyable. Later on, finding a publisher and then uh, getting them to market it, and getting people to read, all of that is
Mm-hmm.
not that enjoyable. But frankly, that's also necessary. I'd be lying if I said I won't do it. And
Yes.
even though I don't particularly enjoy it, I
Yeah.
mean, that's the goal. At the end of it, you want to write something which others can read and give you feedback. So I mean, I wouldn't want to write a book which nobody's read. It's not just for me. So
Okay.
because you need to be judged. I know it sounds very harsh and utopian, but the point is, you like to read something which a publisher will read and judge and say, hey, this is good enough to be published. And
Mm-hmm.
some reader will say and say some nice things, and some of course won't like it because you can't please everybody. But yes, getting published is also equally important. I don't particularly care about very short-term deadlines, like you should have written a few hundred, say 1,000 words every week or anything like that. I don't think that's important to me, and I don't really, especially a job, it doesn't work, because there have been weeks when you can't write at all, and there's no guilt, or I mean, you feel unhappy that you're busy, that you don't do something you enjoy, but there is no guilt trip because of that.
Okay. Okay. I mean, this was an important question, because the other question I was going to ask you really was that, is there any kind of writing that you do which you would be okay if nobody saw, or okay if nobody judged?
I've heard people say they like to write a diary, which it's kind of, you vent into your
Mm.
diary, and it's fine, and it's not really meant for anyone else. But usually, to be honest, when I write something, I expect some feedback. It could be
Sure.
positive, negative, and I think feedback is important, because then you improve, and I feel I have improved. You learn what. Uh, I mean, right? It's important to write what you feel like, to be honest to yourself, and all of that. But it's also important to keep your. I mean, it's not an ideal world. It's also important to keep your potential readers in mind. And so when you write a book, a novel like the crime novel, you have a vague idea of the sort of people who like it, because not everyone will like it,
Yeah.
and so it's written for others, to be honest,
But
not just for myself.
I heard something, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you said that it's the process of the writing that you enjoy more than the process of getting it out there, which is important for you as well. And I think I felt that was really key, because where I'm coming from is that there's some part of us that we feel is truly us, right? Like you said, there many of us feel like there's a novel inside of us, and we want to get that out. We want to express that part of ourselves. That's the part that we do for the sheer joy. And like you said, you enjoy the process of writing. That's what we call our primary motivation. Perhaps the eventual sort of publication, the judgment of it, the acceptance by the approval or disapproval, that's our secondary motivation.
Yes.
In your case, genuinely, I feel like it's the process that you enjoy, that time with yourself.
But if I were to write a book saying I don't care if no one reads it, vis-a-vis writing something where you have a target audience in mind, the output would be different. If I said I don't care if no one reads it at all, I don't particularly want anyone to read it, I'm strictly for myself,
Hmm.
then what I write may be even different. And frankly, I haven't gone down that path. Where you write a novel where you expect potentially nobody to read it.
Yes, you'd never know what would come out then.
Yes,
Are you
I
curious?
haven't tried. I don't think I'll try that. It's a lot of effort, and I don't think it's worth, because something that keeps you going is that at the end of it, someone will read it, and maybe half of them will like it, and some may not like it, but
Yeah.
you get some positive feedback. So definitely that helps.
So this is sort of like a double-edged sword, because you have the school of thought that says dance as if no one's watching, which is to see, tap into that part of yourself that you would do regardless, or rather, as if you're not being judged. But on the other hand, having like an end goal in mind, or saying that, I would like to get this to a publisher, I would like to get this to an audience, also then helps you stay on track. Because which I'll circle back to something that you said right at the beginning, which is that if you love something, you'll make time for it. I mean, we've all heard these words, Vinod, but I mean, you were commuting, you were living in a foreign country, so I'm guessing like no domestic help. I know that you have family, so commitments, whether or not you had kids at the time, and you continue to write today. So how does one actually make that time? And, you know,
So the honest answer is you cut away a lot of things. So I mean, I stopped watching a lot of television. I mean, except for news, and even that
mhm.
these days I practically stop watching television because I find it more efficient to just read it on the internet, because you can pick and choose what you want. You
Yes,
watch television, then a lot of it is not really what you want. You have to flip through channels, and it takes a fair amount of time to just get what you want. So I mean, I practically stop watching television. I don't watch many movies except when I go with my wife. You can't be totally asocial, but sometimes when I go with her. But so I haven't watched too many movies of my choice,
yes.
mainly because if I am kind of sitting in a corner and writing a novel for a big chunk of the weekend, then I feel that I have a duty to go out with them at least for certain number of hours on the weekend. So then I cut out the movies I like. I don't watch television at all. I don't go out too much with friends. Go drinking. Like if I have a drink again, I keep it to one sorry, and I don't come back with a hangover the next day because then
I
it's
can
too much
vouch
of.
for that. We both hardly meet.
So you cut down on a lot of things. I haven't watched too many of the latest movies.
Yes.
uh, so I mean, all of that, things which I would have normally watched. So people, when they talk about the latest television show, I don't have a Netflix subscription, because I know if I have a subscription I'll get addicted. I don't have a Hotstar subscription. I don't watch any of those streaming channels, because I know if I have one, I will end up spending a lot of time, because a lot of good content out there. So I've cut out a lot of things which normally I would have done. So there is
But
a cost. There's opportunity cost.
absolutely, absolutely. For every choice that we make, it's another door that we're closing, right? Or something that we're going to have to
Yes.
deny ourselves to in order to gain this. Has it been worth it for you, Vinod?
Yes, I think so. I really enjoy this. In fact, if I didn't do this, I suppose okay, I said I would watch maybe 100 movies in the last 10 years, or rather 15 years.
Mhm.
I have no regrets about having not done all that. Or the
Well,
things I've given up,
yeah,
not following cricket. I used to be a big cricket fan. Now
yeah.
I'm stopped. I mean, I have a sense of who's playing whom and what the scores are, but I haven't watched a live match in a very long time.
Mm,
So.
mm, mm.
So there is the occasional regrets, but on the whole, looking at it in totality, there's no regret. I'm glad I did it. I took the choice. I
Absolutely.
made the choice I did.
Do you have like sort of fantasies about giving up your day job, becoming a full-time writer, or is this a passion, a hobby for you?
No, I don't think so, because I enjoy the law as much as I enjoy writing. So I think I enjoy being lawyer as well, just as much as and frankly, I think writing doesn't take so much time. I mean, if I were to be a full-time writer, frankly, I would struggle. I mean, I don't think I would be able to write more than an hour a day at the most. You run
Sure.
out of words.
Yeah,
Even, I
yeah,
mean, if I could type non-stop for 8 hours a day, the way I work as a lawyer, drafting agreements, I would have a novel a week, which I don't. I mean, I don't have that many ideas. I mean, I've rarely been, had a mental block, a writer's block. But on the other, and that's because I write part time, or one tenth of my waking hours I spend writing, not even that. So because I cherish every minute I get to write, and I have this a few ideas stored up, I don't have a block or anything, because whenever I get a chance to write, I write.
yeah.
But if I were to write full time, I would have all these problems, and I don't think I would have enough stuff to write, more than an hour a day.
No, that's wonderful. Do you see yourself writing for the rest of your life, Vinod? I think this will continue to bring you
Yeah,
joy.
possibly. I like to keep writing, as I say, and I always have a novel going on at any point in time. Either I'm thinking of one, or I'm writing one, or I'm editing, or I'm finalizing. So I mean, it's been like that. So I started in 2003, and I've uh, always had something going on. If not a novel, at least a short story. Something which is at least an idea, which is germinating. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't see myself just stopping from that or giving that up. I kind of, it's now so much a part of me. I
Mhm.
don't see it in any. I can't see it being any other way.
Love that. This is why I wanted to speak to you specifically today, Vinod, because it's about giving space for something that you love in your life. It doesn't have to become your career. It doesn't have to define you in every way. But when you make the time for it, I think as you're saying, the sort of payback, or the benefits that you get out of it are so fulfilling. And it's not taking you away from your family or your friends, but yes, I mean, there's a small price to it, but it's certainly, I think it's just making your life seem more well-rounded and more enjoyable. What is the word you would use?
That's right. More enjoyable. It adds that little bit of spice to life.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your story with me, Vinod. I know you have many other hobbies and a lot of other exciting things going on, but this was something that I thought. So just going into the head of somebody who's made time for a passion, who's made time for a hobby, would be quite valuable as an insight, particularly in in our stressful times today. Thank you so much for talking to us,
Thanks
and
for having me here.
great day. And I'm going to meet you this week for sure, right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Take care. See you soon. Bye.
Bye bye, Vinod. Thank you.